Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have another video, this time for the Brutus Monroe guest design spot. They had me up on their blog yesterday, so I will have that link down below so you can go check that out. But here is the video for the card that I made. I'm going to start off by doing some ink smushing. I'm using one of my Tonic Easy Clean mats. Sorry that my camera's going a little crazy there. And I am putting down some color just on top of that Easy mat. These are the distress inks, and I'm using the colors Weathered Wood, Hickory Smoke, and Milled Lavender. I've sprayed that with water, and then I am going to just squish my watercolor paper right into that. And the paper I'm using is the Canson XL watercolor paper. This is good for this technique. And in between each time, if you haven't seen me do this before or anybody else, you're going to want to heat set that, which is what I'm doing here. And it takes a little bit of time, and then each time I will either squish it back right into the ink that's already on my Easy Clean mat, or I will clean it off, put some new color down, and then I'll spritz it with some water again, and I will put my paper right into that. And this is looking very gray, but that's the look I want. I went ahead this second time with the color. I put down the Weathered Wood, and I put down the Milled Lavender once again. And then I'm just going to keep squishing that until I get the desired look that I want. And I want it to be pretty distressed. And now I'm putting down that Milled Lavender as well as the Weathered Wood one more time, but I'm going to take my paintbrush this time. And then I'm going to just splatter. I just want to get a bunch of splatters all over that background. I am planning to use this for some stamping. I'll go into that Weathered Wood and do the exact same thing, and I'm just loving this look. And that's the fun thing about these distress inks. And you could do it with the distress oxides as well. I have another tiny piece of Canson XL watercolor paper, and I'm using the Peacock feathers this time. And I'm going to do this several times. Just keep trying to get a distressed look on that background. And when I have the look I want, I'm going to do just keep going. And when I have the look I want, I'll clean off my mat, I'll put a little bit of that Wilted violet on the side, and I'll splatter that all over that background. And then I'll set those off to the side to dry. I do apologize, I didn't get the part where I put all the stamps down, but this is what I was doing with these backgrounds. I have inked up a bunch of the feathers from the Feathered Sentiments from Brutus Monroe, and I've inked those up with VersaFine Onyx black ink. I'm doing this several times because this is on watercolor paper, so it has a little bit of tooth to it, a little bit of, it's a little bit of a rough background because it's watercolor paper. And then I'll set that off to the side to dry and then clean off my stamps, and I'll put the little blue one in there, and I will do one more feather. And I'll do it the exact same way. Just ink that up and then stamp that down. And then when I'm happy with that, I'll set that off to the side to do a little drying, and I will start stamping my sentiment. So I originally had planned to stamp that using the Distress Oxide color Wilted Violet, but I wasn't very happy with that. So I do clean off my stamp, I flip my paper, this is just some regular white cardstock, and I ink this up with VersaFine Onyx black ink. And the reason I do that is because that is a pigment ink as well, and I want to cover this with my new favorite embossing powder, the Raven Sparkle. And you know I love this stuff because I've been using it a lot lately. This stuff is just gorgeous. It works well on fine detail, and it has that little bit of sparkle to it, which is just, it's stunning, stunning. So I will heat that up or melt that. And by doing that, I just use my heat tool on the back to get it started, and then I'll flip it to the front. And the reason you start on the back is so that you don't get those bits of glitter to fly everywhere. And then that'll be that. That stuff is, love it. I think we all know I love that stuff. I just keep going on about it. And so then I did take one of my circle Nestabilities, and I ran that through my Big Shot machine so that I had that all ready to go. And now I will take all of those feathers, and I plan to fussy cut all of them out. And I don't mind doing that. Like I've said before, I usually have music on in the background, and I'll just fussy cut away. So I've cut them all out, and I've got a piece of turquoise cardstock from my stash that I've trimmed down. I cut it down to 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and I'm scoring that at 5 1/2 inches to make it a top folding A2 size card. I have trimmed down another piece of white cardstock. This just measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And now I'm going to start adhering my feathers to that card front. And I'm just going to use some foam tape to do so. I want these to be popped up. So I'll put foam tape all over the back of all those feathers. And the point is, they're supposed to look like pigeon feathers. because, you know, the sentiment says be a peacock and a flock of pigeons. I'll peel off the backing paper and I will stick all those down. You know, we live in El Paso where pigeons are plentiful, so definitely want to be a peacock and a flock of pigeons. And then I'll turn that over and I'll trim off the excess from those feathers so they're not hanging off too much. And once that's ready to go, I'll start adhering my sentiment to the front as well. So to do so, I'm going to pop that up. I'm just going to use a little bit of foam tape in the middle there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue on the top and bottom of my sentiment. And then I will adhere that down. And then I decide I want to pop up my little peacock feather as well. And to do that, I will use foam tape on the back of that as well. So if you hear some noise in the background, that is actually my daughter and her friends. And honestly, it's music to my ears. I love that they want to come here and hang out. It makes my heart happy. I will just say that. So I've attached that down, and then to attach my card panel to my card base, I'm just going to use some liquid glue all over the back of that and just stick that right down. And then for a final bit of embellishment, I'm going to grab some Nuvo Dream Drops in the color Indigo Eclipse. This stuff is beautiful, and I thought it matched the little hints of purple, you know, the milled lavender that's in the background. And these Dream Drops, as you well know, I am obsessed with. They're so pretty, and they're subtle, and they're iridescent, and they're just gorgeous. So I will smack those down, just kind of tapping them down so that I can get them to look more like enamel dots. And then that's going to finish off this card. So if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And go check out the Brutus Monroe blog and check out their store. They have so many great things in there. Just their style is awesome. And they have a lot of amazing embossing powders and all kinds of stuff. So I will have all that linked down below. And as always, guys, thanks for stopping by.